Oh guys, I just thought I'd show you some different frame rates. This one is at 4K 25 FPS with normal stabilisation on. And you have another stabilisation option, apart from off obviously, which is intelligent active, but only works in 1080p, 50 frames per second. In the newer cameras like the A1 and the A7 IV, you can actually shoot in 4K like this. And it just gives you a little crop in and actually helps with the stabilisation movement, and you'll see this. So I'm just walking here in 4K 25 and it's all over the place. I'm just holding it in one hand normally, and it's still usable, I guess, but not really ideal, especially when we're used to our phones having really good stabilisation, GoPros and stuff like that. It is a bit all over the place and you kind of need a gimbal. The only thing I need to learn is to hold the camera a little bit steadier and do the ninja walk, as whatever they call it. But that looks a bit stupid when you're walking on the beach. So if you click this into 1080p, 50 frames per second, or 25, you can actually have intelligent active active as such. As you can see, that's a lot smoother. There's a little bit of wobbling around, but that's just me walking literally like an elephant. I'm terrible. So I'm sure with a bit of practice, people could get this very, very steady. But it does change the way you can film just by hand holding, and if you're just vlogging and stuff like that, it's actually pretty good. So I use it quite a bit now. I know it's only 1080p, but at the end of the day, it's still very usable at HD. Yeah, that's me wobbling around. Also take into consideration it's probably 35 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour constant wind. It was very, very strong gale force winds that day. And yeah, it was just interesting. But as you can see, the seagull is absolutely loving it as he was flying about. In fact, so fast I couldn't find out where he went. But anyway, big waves coming in. So anyway, 100 frames per second 1080p. It's quite handy for 4 times slow motion. But this, I just left this at 100 frames per second. Nice and smooth footage. The exposure's a little bit off, but the sun kept coming and going between the clouds. And me shooting in manual, I didn't adjust anything. 250 frames per second in HFR, so you get about up to 7 seconds worth of footage filming. Really useful for a little bit of slow motion. Also, we have 500, so this is 17 seconds worth of actually video, but only 3.5 seconds worth of filming. You can do up to 7, but I generally use it as half the record time, just because it's quicker. And generally you only need a few seconds of filming anyway. And this is 1,000 frames per second, so it's exactly the same scene in 4 different ways. But it just shows you how usable that HFR mode is. Well, again, the exposure is a little bit off, and that's just down to me not adjusting it as the sun kept coming in and out, so kind of out of my hands really. And once you lock the HFR, it's kind of locked, so nothing changes. But as you can see there, it suddenly becomes a very, very long clip. And this is only on half end as well, so it's only 50% of the actual recording time you can actually use. But in the real world, I'd only use about 2 seconds worth here. Another 500 frames per second shot. This is quite cool. I quite like this. This way it's slamming into each post there. Does look quite cool. With a little bit of extra time there. That's still 3.5 seconds worth of time coming up to now. So it shows you how long it suddenly makes it. And this is 1,000 frames per second. With 1,000 frames per second, it actually crops in quite a lot. I hadn't zoomed in I actually had zoomed into 600mm there. The other previous shot I actually hadn't, so it's not 100% accurate on that, but it does crop in quite a bit. It also upscales, so I've had to add a little bit of sharpening to this just to make it look a little bit better. But it's still quite cool, and it just shows us, things that we can't see with the normal speed, stuff like that. So, and obviously you haven't got 600mm on your phone to do some slow motion with. So yeah. Yep, that's how windy it was. Very, very noisy, hence why I'm voicing over. But really good fun. The kite surfers are out. Quite shallow water there, so they were in and out quite fast and doing jumps and things like that, which is really cool. Here it goes. I'm shooting at 50 frames per second here with the intelligent active on, but I'm getting buffeted around all over the place. This is at 500 frames per second. I'm right up on the promenade, so I'm a good 100 meters or so away from the guy because the tide's heading out. And yeah, I was up on the promenade, so yeah, it was quite a long way away. But still, quite cool to be able to capture something like that in slow motion with no real drama, really. as you can see, very, very moody day. But end of the day, it's really cool. But the problem was it kept bloody raining every 5 to 10 minutes. So I got absolutely soaked about 3 to 4 times within half an hour. It just, yeah, a bit relentless really. But as you can see, the wind. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm trying to find the cursor because it kind of disappeared. But really cool to watch. It's something that people keep saying to, oh, you should have a go. I'd probably kill myself. It's a very dangerous sport if you don't know what you're doing. But as you can see here, just really nice and smooth. And yeah, I don't know what I'm doing either there. So, but really, really cool to watch. And like I say, they're moving at some rate. So autofocus working fine. Just in AFC wide, no troubles whatsoever. But yeah, really, really cool to watch. Some really good jumps as well, which was really cool to see. But as you can see, I'm just all over the shop. This one here is pretty mad, if I remember rightly. As he goes up, he's going to go up. There we go. Lost his board, and then splash. So that was shot at 50 frames per second. We could slow it down a bit, but I've just left it as is. Back in the car, chucking it down with rain again. So I just had to sit there and wait whilst the car was steaming up. So, but yeah, I thought I'll give it another 10 minutes or something, and then see if it did. But it kind of just chucked it down and carried on chucking it down, which was a real shame, really, because it was, not a bad day out. But as you can see, the clouds are moody. The wind turbines are spinning at, I don't know what speed they spin at, but the pigeons are sitting on. I don't know what pigeons do. They just sit and then don't do anything else apart from getting in the way on the road. But anyway, yeah, they all sat about half a mile away. I don't know, whatever it is. But those wind turbines are over 1 mile away because I've flown the drone out to the house, which is there on the right hand side. That was just over 1 mile across the field there, and the turbines are a little bit further past. But they are huge, those things. Yeah, certainly massive structures, that's for sure. They're really quite cool, especially in a storm. Anyway, here's some photographs I took as well, a few action shots and a few bits and pieces. So let's go and have a look at those. So that previous shot was the wide angle 24mm version of this shot here. This is a 600mm. It just gives you a really nice indication of how sharp the lens is, but also how much bokeh you can get from this camera as well from a bit of a distance. So you have to change your technique compared to a full frame camera, for example, and a fast portrait lens, but you can do it still. You just got to change your techniques, move back basically. Here is some birds in flight, coming really quick actually. 100% crop-ins, I think. Yeah, these are 100% crop-ins. So still quite far away, but it was tracking them quite happily, just on wide AFC. And in even, as you can see here, even with a sort of messy background, it still stayed on them quite happily, which is great. I was just shooting all the way, and even when I went past these metal railings, absolutely fine as well. They're getting quite close now, but still 100% crop in. So I'm just showing you kind of like they, were in focus. This shot here, quite like, it's just these old groins, posts, and everything are just getting battered to bits. I can't believe they're still standing, and it's quite amazing, really. And then here is 24 frames per second of the water coming in. That's one shot I quite liked. That's the sort of moment of truth. A little bit of tweaking on the white balance, so it looks a bit nicer to the eye compared to the brown water. And a Land Rover Defender splashing through the puddles. I was hoping for a bus to come through, but I missed it by seconds because it went really high when he hit it. But the Land Rover was pretty cool. Another 100% crop in. And yeah, the same birds flying about. They sort of appeared and went again and then came back again. I don't know what they were doing. But even behind reeds and stuff like that, it stayed on focus. And this wasn't a tracking setting, it was literally AFC wide. And because I was already sort of shooting, it stayed in. This shot here, I had about 10 shots either side, and I could literally pinpoint the moment just before he touched the water quite happily with 24 frames per second. So really, really usable. This shot here, I thought, why is it, I've missed focus, what's going on? Oh, it's a seagull. So I actually focused on the seagull that was shot up from it took off from the ground. I didn't see it at the time, and yeah, basically ruined my picture. But actually, it's quite cool at the same time. This shot here, just a kite surfer, just getting ready to go out, and that's how moody the sky was. There was thunder and lightning going on in the distance as well. As you can see, it was very stormy, and the rain just kept coming every moment or two. The shot up here in the cloud, AFC wide, and just it pinpointed actually up on the harsh edges. So that's what you've got to look for on clouds, because clouds are actually quite hard to focus on sometimes. This is quite cool. The blue sky reflection in into the wet sand, and the seagull stood in the cloud reflection. I thought it was quite cool as a shot. This shot here, kite surfer going past, just about got his kite in shot as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions about the camera, let me know what you think, and yeah, leave some comments below. Don't forget to click the subscribe button as well, it'd be amazing, and share the channel, and I'll see you soon for another video.